Welcome to Florida Education News. My name is Dr. Tony Arza, and today I'm sitting down with Brittany Lyssy, who's running for school board in Hillsborough County, District 2.
Yes.
Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, look, it's election season in Florida, and there are a lot of candidates out there, and we wanted to take the opportunity to sit down and meet you and hear a little bit about your platform, a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so obviously my name is Brittany Lyssy, Hillsborough County School Board District 2, which includes South Tampa, Riverview, and Apollo Beach. I'm an attorney. I have a background in education policy, so I've been working with state legislatures, all the way down to the local school boards throughout the nation to really help them understand the role that they play in government and help the school boards understand, that the state legislature creates the laws and the school boards create the policy that needs to comply with the laws and how they can do that. So I've been doing that for a few years and I absolutely love it. Other than that, I'm also getting a PhD in public policy. So in a few years, you'll be able to call me Dr. Lyssy. It'll be
Yeah,
wonderful. Once I defend my dissertation, so that's coming. I'm a mother of 3 young kids, and they're really, why I'm doing this. I want them and their peers to grow up in a community that has successful schools and successful children, so that way they're able to have successful lives like we do.
So a lawyer, doctor, and a mother, how do you balance all of it?
Oh, it's fun. They say it takes a village, and it definitely takes a village. My husband is very supportive, as well as my family. My parents are here, my grandparents, as well as my sister, so they help out a lot. I am a lifelong Floridian. I have lived in Florida my entire life, grew up here, went to the University of Florida, Stetson University College of Law right down the road from here. So I've got lots of friends, lots of family, lots of people who really believe in what I'm doing and they believe in this mission. So they are more than willing to help out.
And so if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of what moved you to run for school board. It's obviously, it's not easy to be an elected official. It's not easy to expose your family to attacks, and everyone knows politics can be a little bit dirty.
Yes.
So could you kind of share a little bit of what motivated you or moved you to run for school board?
Yes. So I have, like I said, I've been working in education policy. It is something that is near and dear to my heart, something that I'm extremely passionate about, really making a difference. People think when they make a difference, they're going to go work for a charity or something like that. But I was working for a nonprofit that was, really getting into the policy, getting into the wording, making sure we're having the intended effects. And then I love it. So that was, the first step was something I'm passionate about. And then I've been working, in the political sphere here in Tampa for a while. I worked for Senator Moody when she was Attorney General, and she has been a huge influence in my life. She actually swore me into the Florida bar when I passed. So she has been a mentor and a motivator for me, and she was one of the ones who said, I think you might be good at this. And I said, okay, well, one day, we'll see. One day, if the opportunity arises, we will see. And then, the opportunity arose, and if not who, then me. So it needed to be me. I don't think anybody will fight harder for, my children and their peers than I will. I have young children that are coming up through the system, and so I understand the ins and outs and the needs and what parents are going through, which is something that, I can't say about everybody running. To be a parent and to be in it motivates you more than anything, and to know, obviously my children will have different opportunities than the child down the street, and to make sure that every child has a chance to succeed is really why I'm here.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful story and beautiful reasons why you're running. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit, in Florida now the biggest topic in education is school choice.
Yes.
And there's universal choice in Florida, and some districts and board members have been extremely vocal against school choice. Other people have been very supportive, like myself, believe that a parent should have a right to send their child to a school of their choice. Where do you stand on school choice so that people are aware of where you come from?
Yes, I am wholly supportive of school choice. I really believe, like you said, that every parent and family should be able to make the decision about where their child should go to school. Actually helped advocate for it here at the state level, as well as in Iowa with Governor Kim Reynolds when she signed their first state choice or school choice bill in that state. So we did a lot of work with her and her legislature to get those through, as well as here in Florida. Every child is different, and every child learns differently, and should be in a different environment, right? It's not a one size fits all, and parents really and families should be involved in making those decisions. And you want to have successful children, you want to have a successful community, then you need to put them in a school, in a program that fits their needs. And that's what school choice is about. It's not about taking anything away from the public school system, but it's about making the system as a whole better work for the community.
Yeah, and in this choice environment, a lot more, we've seen different visions of education, goals of education, micro schools, classical schools, And so when you look at the traditional public school system, what are some of the things you think that they could do better in order to align better to the marketplace and offer things that are attractive to parents?
Yes, so something that I'm very big on, running here in Hillsborough County is I would like to see every high school at least have a trade or vocational program, at least one, multiple would be ideal. And that's something that would allow parents to choose that school. Oh, their child is interested in electricity, being an electrician or maritime or anything like that. To put those programs back in the schools and make sure that everyone has access to that would be something that would promote, the public school system. And then also, we have the IB and the magnet, and we have all of those. And all of Hillsborough County is choice. So you could choice into any public school that you want. It's not just about the private schools or the charter schools or, the homeschooling option. There are so many options in the county, and that is what's great. So what we need to do is the public school system needs to keep up with the options. We need to elevate the experience that we're giving the students and the community, so that way they are choosing to go to the public school, because it's a community effort, right? The backyard neighborhood schools are going to be better if we can involve the community and we can get the community really excited about that. So bringing in more public-private partnerships and really bringing in programs that attract families is how the public school system can kind of compete in this atmosphere of choice.
Yeah, and you mentioned in the beginning when you started off about the different roles in the legislature and the role of the board, but maybe a lot of people don't know what a school board member is responsible for, what they do. How would you hope to affect change as a board member in Hillsborough County?
Yeah, so obviously as a board member, you are responsible for curriculum, creating policy that governs the district, and then spending the money, right? That's the biggest one here in Hillsborough County, especially with all of the property tax conversations that are happening. So if you're a school board member, you are responsible for, in Hillsborough County, $4.4 billion budget. So for me, that role really goes to accountability and transparency. You want to make sure that the community knows where the money is going, what it's being spent on, and that it's getting into the classrooms and it's creating effective outcomes for the students, which right now in Hillsborough County, we're not really seeing that. There really isn't that transparency. There are a lot of contracts that have not been renegotiated. There are a lot of spending that are going to vendors that we haven't looked at anything in depth. And so that's something that I'd really hope to bring change to. As a lawyer, I have experience reading contracts and really digging into them deep and fighting over them, making sure that we're getting the best deal for the taxpayers and the families of Hillsborough County. So that's something that I'd really like to do. And then just really make sure that, parents and families are being heard. This community would not be successful if the parents and the families didn't care as much, right? So we want to make sure that parents and families are involved in schools, that they are not seen as an obstacle. They are a child's first teacher and first mentor, and they have the most impact on a child. And then their teachers, they spend a lot of time with their teachers as well. But we need to make sure that the parents and the families are supportive. So as a board member, that would be one of my missions as well.
And you brought up the budget, and obviously being responsible for a budget that's large is a huge responsibility. Why should the taxpayers trust you? What separates you apart and prepares you for that role?
Yes, so like I said, I am a lawyer, so we have a lot of educators on the school board, which is incredible. We need that sense of what's going on in the classroom and what's happening. But like you said, this is a huge budget. Hillsborough County School Board is also the largest employer in the district. So we need more viewpoints. We need different ways of looking at things. So coming in as a lawyer and being able to look at the contracts and being able to really understand the policy and the local, how all the local institutions work together, and being able to help bring in the county and the state and really advocate for what's going on here in Hillsborough County is what I have experience in. It's what I've done as a career. I have great relationships with the legislators in Tallahassee, and so being able to say, oh, we're struggling with this funding, we need more funding per student, or we need this program or that program, being able to take it to Tallahassee and know that there are allies there that will listen and will take what I'm saying and go, okay, we can make this happen, is something that I really bring to the table here, because that's what I've been doing as my career. So I really believe that I can make a difference here in Hillsborough County, and that I've been out there talking to the voters. I have knocked I think 1,000 doors already, me by myself. That does not include what my volunteers have done. So I'm a hard worker. I will get out in front of everybody and make sure that they know, that what they see is what they get. And I am not going to get on the board and change the way I feel about things. I stand very strongly in what I believe, with school choice and everything should be about the children. And I'm not going to waver, and I'm gonna get up there and fight for them.
Well, look, thanks so much for sitting down with us. It's been a real pleasure, and good luck on your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you.